dear fellow partners and members from the Swiss Chamber. The future of workspace. Work, leadership, and our office spaces have been slowly evolving over a long period of time. And then all of a sudden, the pandemic hit. As a catalyst, this crisis has changed abruptly how we have to work, how we have to use workspace in a mostly virtual way. We have to take this as a chance, and we have to think further into the future. Companies must accelerate and implement changes not envisioned for decades now. How we will guide business into the future? What about workspaces? How does that look like? Tomorrow is not shaped by a single hero. It's a collaborative effort from a variety of industries with different functional background, such as HR, IT, dared or dreamed. The time to start the building of the new reality together is now. Welcome to the fourth Chairman's Luncheon 2020, where we talk about the topics with matters. I'm very excited to have you here and to talk about something which all of us might concern in the future. Before we start with this exciting presentation of Raphael and his team, we're going to have some introductory words from our ambassador. So he will share his thoughts, and he as well will share with us how he could make it that we have Raphael today here on stage. After that, we will, as usual, have a little update from office management about what is going on until end of the year, maybe beginning of the next year. Before then we can start and go into medias res to Raphael's presentation. The more interactive we can create it, and that's what he told me as well in the preparation talk we had, the better for him as well, and the better he gets informed. Be in mind, it's 5 in the morning in Switzerland, and so I'm very excited that he is here, and we keep him wake up with some good questions. So we will have enough of time for that. So please feel free either to do it via chat or to do it directly via press unmute. So I'm very excited to hear your questions as well. With that said, thank you very much. And Fabrice, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Georg. Good morning, Raphael. It's really a privilege for all of us to have you virtually with us today. I remember, and just freshly arrived in Singapore in 2018, I was invited, to visit the launch of the Project Vitra exhibition at the Singapore National Design Center with the presence of your CEO, Nora Fehlbaum. And I was immediately impressed by this success story of this family-run company and by this great innovative spirit that I could find also in your CEO, third generation, very dynamic, very bright, very innovative thinking. And that brought us to connect slightly, I think 1 month later. You were visiting Singapore, and then I jumped in and we organized a sort of conference dinner at the Swiss residence with big projection, on the wall of the residence, and all guests were super happy. And Raphael just showed us what he can deliver, because Raphael is just a very, very exciting person, super bright, super quick, early starter, as we see this morning. He's like everywhere. So in this virtual world that we live in today, I mean, his agenda must be even crazier than it used to be when he was traveling around the globe. It must be a non-stop 24 hours sort of engagement. So he reads a lot. He gives probably one lecture every day or every 2 days. He visits companies, and basically he's trying to predict what is happening in time to come. So to predict the future by nurturing himself of the present, by meeting, movers and shakers, and putting all that together and trying to project us, in the immediate future, in the midterm future, with a very, very sharp mind. So I will not be much longer. I may just finish by mentioning that Vitra organized a big virtual summit last month, and I was very much entertained by the panel where Raphael was speaking together with his CEO Nora Fehlbaum on the new dynamics in the office. And this is probably part of the talk today. Are we going to continue to work in the office, or are we going to appear like I experienced yesterday in an in-person meeting in Singapore? Are we going to appear in hologram in the office? So, Raphael, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good. So I will start now immediately and share my screen with you. So let me see that it runs. Okay, go to the full screen mode. Okay, good. So yes, you get my name. Normally I live there where the blue dot is. It is in the southeast of Germany. I live on a lovely farm close to the Bavarian forest. We are full driven by renewable energies. And what we have to learn since 38 weeks, that the unpredictable is not a real matching in a predictable life. And now we have to train every day to deal with the unpredictable. Dealing with the unpredictable was part of my life before at Vitra. So this is my toolkit. And I frequently travel, I would say 50 weeks a year, going from my farm to the airport in Munich, visiting more than 25 countries a year, from Asia to the States and entire Europe, to understand what could be the future of work. And this is my life today. I bought me, after 4 weeks in the pandemic, a proper studio. I can carry my studio everywhere where I am. I have a studio at home. I do that also when I'm at customer site. And so the things are changing. And I love this picture from the New Yorker. It says so much. It is a brand new cover from last week. And come on, who could mention that that happens to us so fast? And now we start to find ourselves as a digital twin in a real life. And sometimes it seems a little bit scary. And ask yourself, imagine we have the year 2030, 10 years from now. How relevant will be your daily work in 10 years from now for your organization, for yourself, and maybe for your company? To deal with that, we have to train to understand signals. Understanding signals is really necessary in the future for all of us. It's not about the futurist, you also have to be a little bit a futurist. And I want to introduce you Lara Katuria. She's one of the analysts of the Norwegian pension fund. The Norwegian pension fund is one of the largest pension funds in the world with $1 billion US. And there was a question in an interview, and the journalist asked her how she deal with the responsibility to take care about so many money. And that was the answer. It's like you open up a newspaper in the morning and everything inside the newspaper can be relevant for an investment decision. So ask you how you operate. What are the questions ahead of your life to make the right decisions? And I met a brilliant person in January this year. I was at the CES in Las Vegas, the largest consumer electronics show in the world, and there was Akio Toyoda. And Akio Toyoda shared with us his vision of Toyota of tomorrow. So he come up on the stage and he say to us, it would be great to have a glass ball and to understand what is the future of cars. But then he moved and say, Toyota learned so much by building cars that these are the new opportunities for Toyota in the future. So they come up with 40 new fields of business opportunities. And for these business opportunities, Toyota is building an entire city on an old construction plant close to the Mount Fuji in Japan on 175 hectares. And that shows us if you have a vision, if you understand signals, there are tons of opportunity outside we have to take over. And I believe this is a little bit kind of our duty in these times. To do this, we have to frame. So framing means whatever you understand, read, heard, how you ever understand signals, you transfer that into your life and you ask how that reference what you do every day. And I train myself with a giant archive. So since I'm at Vitra, I have a digital archive. And now you will find there around 3,000 articles, and it is an open archive. It's called Raphael's Flipboard. It's open for everybody. Maybe Angela can leave that in the chat. So here in my Flipboard, I collect every day 1 or up to 2 articles. And I want to show you what are the major streams, topic streams in the last 38 weeks in these pandemic times regarding the future of work. The first topic was, hey, you can work from everywhere now. Now there's no excuse anymore to stay at home or wherever you stay. And I will go deeper on this topic again. The second topic is about the entire infrastructure, the architecture of remote work. There is a giant universe outside with tools which helps us to change the way how we work. I also reference on that deeper. And then in the market, even in your city, is a $1 billion question. Give me a reason going back to the office. There, you have to know that the corporate real estate industry is a strong muscle in the world. So, but we have to reinvent why people going back. And the last topic was about culture. Culture is the invisible social order of any organization. Invisible because it's not part of the balance sheet. And for that reason, now culture is becoming visible in these times of the pandemic. We collect all these topics since 5 years on a work panorama. We will share later with you, by the way, all the files and all the toolkit I mentioned now, like the work panorama. The work panorama is a giant picture about the future. It's like your head-up display with 8 topic clusters where we believe this topic cluster have an influence on your corporate future, how you work, how you lead, and how you use space. So you'll get this, and we open every discussion with what-if questions. I learned that from Deloitte Center for the Edge, from John Hagel. He came up with a brilliant article, how to provoke in a discussion. And with a what-if question, this is a giant poster, you really can start your discussion. Good. Now I start with the topics I take out for you today. First, the anywhere ecosystem of work. We have to learn now, out of a sudden, hey, you could work from home. And now to work from home for these people who have space, that's really cool. But how do the people deal without a space at home? And then you learn there are giant spaces in your neighborhood. In the future, there will be tons of small, mid-size, small and larger co-working spaces in a 15-minute distance from your home. There is a company, a large financial company, they promise now their employees in Asia at the end of 21 that they have a near field co-working space as additional opportunity to the headquarters. Then what happens in the major cities? Hotels redesign the first floor as public, semi-public floors. In a city like Munich, over the night, more than 300 hotels sign up in new platforms where you could book these places as your workplace. And yes, there are still the new kind of headquarters, but these headquarters are different like the headquarters in the past. This is a picture of a building area in the Toyota Woven City. So we have an entire ecosystem. So you have your home office, you have the third places like the co-working spaces or local hubs, and you will have the office. That means it's up to you to find the best place to make the best work, and maybe it matches much more better to your private and your corporate schedule than in the past. So, and that will never go again. These are new opportunities for all of us. So think in a broader ecosystem. The next topic is about, let us go a little bit deeper. If there are these corporate headquarters, what makes the difference? We had a giant design sprint with 15 of the larger companies in Europe together with Accenture. And in that context, over 10 weeks, we accompany these companies to think about a preferred future of work. I will share with you the executive summary, even together with my colleague Angela in Singapore after this session with the file. So, and we have to know, so the workplaces of tomorrow, there are the body language of a company which helps the employee to learn, to get a sense of belonging, but even to work on the reinvention of the company's future. The last buildings at the end of the 2010 decade, they look like this one. So this is a campus building much more. It's the Adidas World of Sport, the headquarters of Adidas in Bavaria. And you see, okay, it don't look like an office anymore. And this is a building of one of the largest European organic grocery markets called Alnatura. The entire building is built out of clay and mass timber construction, so a super organic building. But what happens now is there's no generic floor design anymore. Companies reinvent the idea to get their own body language more and more. The second thing, what happens now, technology is going deeper in these buildings as an additional layer. On one hand side, to operate the building as best on an economic and ecologic perspective, but on the other side, to provide the employees the best experience and best convenience. And then technology is stepping in also as hardware. This is a picture inside the Toyota Woven City where you could see cobots and autonomous e-pellets like these little cars are working. Why? Because in 5 years, we have 5G networks in the major city or city hubs. So there are much more opportunities for cobots or autonomous drones and other things. They are like for the Yedis, the little androids, your companion at work. So in the past, we had for sure productivity as one of the main drivers, but now for all of us, innovation and inspiration, company culture, and employee retention is part of this giant ecosystem. These buildings of tomorrow are built for the collective. So, and to operate the collective, we get new roles. This is a picture of CBRE reports Beyond Global. Think about there would be a person inside your organization, much more than a community manager, who set up programs for 2 or 3 days at the week, which are so interested that in these 2 or 3 days, the office is packed from the early morning up to the late evening, because you get the sense of belonging, you feel diversity, and you learn so much new things in the context of social learning. Yes, we believe there are the spaces. These spaces will be different. And these spaces are a little bit like the physical cloud of the interaction of the employees. So the old offices are a little bit like old server systems, but these are much more thought out of a cloud system. Coming now a little bit to the alien of the new world. Why the alien? Because that is a little bit like understanding the unknown. So during the session with Accenture, we had an interview with the CEO of WPP, and he came over what happens in the last 4 weeks, maybe in the 4 weeks of the pandemic, never happened in 10 years before. And if we look in the areas of our kids, the kids grown up in a hybrid world. So on one hand side, they have their physical toys, but often these physical toys are connected with the Internet of Things to a smartphone or iPad that the kids could learn. The older kids spend tons of time on platforms like Twitch TV, where the people share, where the gamers are in. And if you see the quality of the virtual world, that is a little bit scary. And in the future, the physical world has to compete with this virtual world. And then for all of us in March, it starts to learn new tools. So you get invitation by Zoom, Slack, Google Hangout, Microsoft Teams, and you thought, oh my God, so many new tools. So how should I deal that? But this is just the beginning. This is the amount of data we create this year. So we create it, we store it, and we work with it. But in less than 5 years, the amount of data will increase 3 times more. By increasing the amount of data, we get much more new tools. What you see here is in 9 fields, several technologies which improve the way how we work remote. And remote work tools are going deeper and deeper into our life. We have done a research, and I share also the research with you. It's called Mapping the Universe of Remote Work. And what makes these tools so strong is that most of them are synchronous. That means a several portion of people could work together in the same time on the same task. If it is a service, a software, or if it is a digital twin of a physical item. And so architecture also has the response to be more synchronous than asynchronous. Email, by the way, is asynchronous, ping and pong. So understanding the world of work means also understanding remote work. Understanding remote work is much more like your daily IT programs today. So we get new tools, we have to understand how to use them and how they influence the way how we work. That links me to my topic, permanent beta. So what is permanent beta? Think an office like a hospital. And in the hospital, you have the ambulance room. All the things happened out of a sudden. And we have to learn at work, every day things happens unpredictable. So you need a kind of an ambulance room inside your organization. In business, you name it ambidextry. You have exploitation and exploration. Exploitation means maybe for Vitra, we are good how to engineer and design a swivel chair. So that means exploitation. But in exploration, we have to challenge the status quo. What is the role of a swivel chair in the future? What makes it so difficult, like even for the car industry, to go from consumption into autonomous cars, the way how we think? We are trained to think inductive and deductive. Inductive means from role models to examples, and deductive means from examples to decisions. So that is based on references. But if something happens into your life where you have no reference, we have to think abductive, and that makes it so complicated. It is a little bit like you have to learn a new language with other grammar and totally another setup how to build the worlds. So now we are in between two worlds. And what is a good tool to understand that is architecture. We need for this kind of beta work, even a beta architecture. This building is one of my famous buildings in the world. It's the MIT Media Lab in Boston, built by marquee architects. And you see the transparency of the building. But if you think on the left side, on the number 8, that is the atrium. If you're standing inside the atrium and you turn around, you get immediately visible access to more than 20 labs. By getting the visible access, seeing hardware, seeing peoples, and seeing technical setups, experiments, you are in. So that means you are stepping in the beta movement. Shop floors are changing. This is a giant shop floor in Stuttgart, founded by companies like Mercedes-Benz, Porsche, Bosch, the University of Stuttgart. So the idea here is that on a 6,000 square meter shop floor, several companies share the space to learn from each other and to make their work visible, so that you, by passing away, you see, oh, what's going on here and there. And the same happens in the offices. So this office is invented by a Swiss architect called Stefan Hürlimann. And that is inside of PricewaterhouseCoopers in Zurich. For sure, PwC, they still have their boardroom, their town hall, their library, their kitchen, or the workstations. But that is there, I name it a little bit like the exercise hall for the brain. If they get new tasks based on this kind of permanent beta or ambidextry, this space, you don't need a facilitator because the body language of the space is so easy to understand. Work is becoming invisible immediately, and by any iteration, you are getting better. These are the 6 levels of adaptation for these kind of spaces. So I believe in less than 5 years from now, 30% of the office space in general, what you share, what you serve for the collective, is built out of these patterns, because we have to support these connections and unique experience of the individuals or teams to working on the competitive advantage of companies in the future. In the next 10 years, the economy is driven in this permanent beta state of mind, and you have to train it. It is the opposite of the alpha state of mind. Coming to my last topic, talent transfer. The World Economic Forum, the OECD Forum, shares since more than 6 years how important it is to reskill and to upskill people. There is a good initiative of your country to reskill the older people like me into the future. So why? The jobs of tomorrow, they have great opportunities in the caring or in the green economy, but they are not trained at school yet. So education will be a center part of work in the future. This was published recently, 4 weeks ago, from the World Economic Forum about what are the future skills, what people need. And here you see all the things about creativity are so important. So the question is not what do you do with these ones who are ahead? You have to think how I bring all the people on the same level. And here is now coming the talent transfer idea or the learnability idea. As long companies are based in a matrix or like in a hierarchy form, you are limited. Networks organization give the best opportunity to learn, because learning is something different like in the past. There's a smart person from the MIT, Alex Pentland. He is the author of the book Social Physics, and he showed the idea what would be if you have more collaboration and interaction outside your organization. Inside your organization, you could be only so smart like the smartest person inside your organization. But if you would have during a day interaction with people outside your industry and outside your discipline, you have this feeling of social learning and exploration. And this is the strongest driver of the talent transfer into a new time. And there are buildings, they have done that out of coincidence. This is the old press center of the Olympic Games in London. It's called Here East. It looks like a giant warehouse. And why space was limited, tons of artists, startups, smaller companies, larger universities go into this building. And now it's like a vertical city district with mix it up, and the energy inside this building in the social, in the public, semi-public areas is so strong. And this is a giant example for social learning in the large scale, and here an example in a smaller scale. One of the leading agencies in the world for the connected age, RGA, based in London, founded by Bob Greenberg. They have in New York 2 floors on the size on a football field, and they connect these 2 floors with a giant staircase. And around the staircase are 32 screens. The screens are operated by the employees. So if you have a great project, you share that there, and immediately during lunch or evening sessions by beer or breakfast, you come into this conversation. Reskilling and retraining are essential levers to full future economic growth. And you have to bring the part of learning to your daily activities. What I have learned, ingenuity and not only the financial muscle is important to deal how we work, how we lead, and how we operate with space. And what we come up during the Vitra Summit, there are new dynamics. In general, work is getting a greater significance about the knowledge worker, collaborative things, agility, well-being, staff retention. Out of that, we get new realities. This kind of social distancing or health and safe at work will stay for a longer period, and even travel restrictions. And that bring us to new needs. And so we come up at Vitra, and I want to end up with a slide with the idea of the club office. So think about, so if this new headquarter in 2 or 3 years from your company, take care about the belonging of you, that you feel located. It is a little bit like your corporate home, and what happens in that house matters. It is a center of collaboration, what you can't do from home, internal and external. It is a giant source of inspiration, and it builds your community. If you're interested in more, I invite you to follow me on LinkedIn, and I stop now sharing my slides. I am in time, and I would be open for this discussion.
Thank you very much, Raphael, for this very interesting and inspiring. So that's for me a bit term which comes into my mind when I listen to you, and as well when I see all these great pictures and these workspaces which you had in your presentation. So dear audience, the floor is open now, and you can just jump in by unmute yourself, or even you can write a question as well into the chat, and then we will read it and take it from there. But just to warm up, maybe let me start with something. So it's very interesting to see what your job is. So you are thinking a lot and you are talking a lot to people, so we can read that. So there are some articles about that as well, how you are doing your prediction, how you are thinking about how the future looks like and workspaces looks like. And when I see all these pictures in your presentation, so for me, there comes a lot, as I said, with the term inspiration. You inspire each other by seeing people, by being in the same place, by getting inspired by the furniture, by the buildings and all these things. So you are there, you are together, and so this kind of together we are doing something, be it for our customers, be it for our products, whatever. So that feeling comes up. But nowadays, so when I see, and I'm here in a little financial institute in Singapore, the opposite is the case, you know. So the offices are empty, nobody is here. There is, I won't say little inspiration, but it's not a culture of people are talking left and right, listening to each other. Everybody's sitting at home, they have their laptops or whatever system before them. So I think that changed as well your job quite dramatically, or didn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I was, after a while, I was serious that it takes longer. And my prediction was only until the end of the year. Now I believe maybe additional 1 year or maybe a half of a year. So, but I find in a new role, and I think that it's good for all of us. We have to learn there's your real person, your physical one, but you also have to build a kind of a digital presence. Digital presence means how you interact virtual, how you also provide a great experience to your coworkers or to your customers in these kind of interactions. That means how to operate the tools, how to chat, and not to copy the behavior of the physical into the virtual world. And that is new. That is new for all of us, because I don't grown up in a hybrid world like the kids today. I think that is important to understand. And there are two major points. One is technology. So if you get the opportunities, by the way, if you see the new Oculus VR glasses for mixed realities, boy, that is really impressive. And in less than 5 years, 20% of the people in your financial district in Singapore will sitting with these glasses. But 5 minutes later, they love to get a serendipity experience. And that is the future. It is both. And now we could train ourselves, our digital twin. So maybe
quite interesting. So in the beginning, yeah, are they coming? Yeah.
Yeah. Before the pandemic, the conventional wisdom has been that the office were critical to productivity, culture, and more. Do you have any research data on productivity, well-being, impact on the work? Yeah. So there are. Look, we have now 38 weeks. It depends where you live, or maybe 40 weeks of the pandemic, and there are kind of quick results. So one is, in general, to operate a company in a virtual architecture works, check. These kind of companies who don't work with physical items. Maybe I mentioned Adidas. Recently, the CEO of Adidas came up, Kaspar Rohrstedt, and he let us know that the work at Adidas is teamwork, and teamwork can't be done from home. For sure, people can work from home 1 or 2 days a week, but the future of Adidas is built on teamwork, on this kind of collaboration. So, because even to design physical goods is difficult to do that fully virtually. So there we see the first limitations. If you talk to university professors, that's also interesting. Virtual education works, but don't works in architecture, don't works in machine engineering, or don't works in design. There was a lot of students in Europe, they stopped their university career for 1 semester or maybe for 2 semesters. Another question is, what does it mean for a company structures management or hierarchy? That is a really, thank you, Manfred, good question. So when Angela will share with you the report from Accenture, how we work, lead, and how we use space in the future. The role of leadership. No, first, managers are trained in strategies, but what's really important, managers should be also trained in cultural techniques. Cultural techniques is the most important tool to operate future organization. So that means less management, more leadership. So, and the other part is you have to have a strong relationship to your employees based on psychological safety. This is the source of being hardwired to them, even if you work physical or in a remote situation. So all the best from the Vitra campus to Phnom Penh. Maybe another question in the audience. Welcome.
Hi there, it's Neil Thomas here from SIX. We're actually in the middle of an office move, so quite timely in some respects. And obviously we'll be moving to an office without any people attending it at the moment. But what would you say is one of the critical things to get right at the moment when designing a new office space? What would be the #1 criteria that you would consider?
Good point. Yesterday, I ended up my working day with an interview session with the VP Real Estate of Salesforce Global. Think about, he is in more than 25 countries, more than 6 million square feet offices for more than 50,000 people. That is a real challenge. And he let us know that the strategy, how Salesforce use space will be still the same. For sure, they think about maybe, I would say reduction, about they rethink how to use the space, but they believe as a technology company, how important it is the physical, that the physical space in the city district, they're always in the CBDs, is a critical factor of business. So what you should do now is is to take this time for experiments. Do service with your employees. If you go on my Flipboard, you will find maybe every second week good examples how other companies are dealing with that, coming up with good ideas. Now we are entering first we had the phase of shock, then we work on the safety, but now we are entering the phase of exploring, where company after company explore how to deal best with the situation, making experiments, and these experiments are setting new standards. Angela will share with you our idea about the club office. And this will take now maybe additional 6 or maybe 12 months. I don't know how your situation is signing a contract. That would be okay, a little bit critical, but we should really take the time critical as best to make experiments. So there's a question from Istuder. Hi, Raphael. Many people face difficulties working from home, either because they are on their own for too long, maybe because there are too many people, okay, in a small apartment. Yeah. So, so in my private situation, I'm not affected by that so much because I live on a big farm with no kids, with tons of animals, so I can arrange that. But coming to your point, you will find a paper, it's called New Dynamics at Home from Vitra, where my colleagues from the headquarter work on several perspective or scenarios, how with, I would say with smart hacks, you could optimize your work. It doesn't matter how big or how small it is to make the best out of it. But what is important, you have to have some rules for your family in these times, because in terms of regulations, because without that, it would be difficult. It is different like to the past. Yeah, I hope that helps you, and even the paper, the New Dynamics at Home, also will give you a little bit inspiration. Are there other questions around? It's now your opportunity to ask me whatever you want to ask.
Raphael,
Maybe if you allow, I have some.
Go ahead, Georg.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so one point which made me curious as well. So you used the word presentation as well. So to what of a degree can you impact culture in a company with workspace? And how difficult is it to keep on the culture now in that environment we are actually in all this pandemic situation?
Good point. Angela, maybe you'll find on Harvard Business Review the article, it's called The Culture Factor. The Culture Factor, maybe you leave it on the chat. So the scientists of the Harvard Business Review come up maybe less than 2 years ago with the idea how to bring culture in a new perspective. And they mention, as you have a few characteristics make you as a human, culture styles bring a company to a cultural framework. I mentioned the organic grocery company Alnatura. For sure, purpose and caring and financial result are part of the cultural framework. And so there are 8 cultural styles, and out of these cultural styles, they build a cultural framework. First, companies have to be aware, what is my cultural framework? And if you know what your cultural framework is, maybe it is learning and order and results, maybe it's authority and enjoyment and results, you know what it means in a physical and in a digital interaction. So if you have this if you are aware about your culture, space is for sure a tool to support culture. Think about ateliers in Paris, churches, museum, school, your famous Italian restaurant. Here you always work with the body language of space to support a cultural movement. And architecture is not the question of beauty. The architecture of workspace is to provide a space which really match to the core of the company. We at Vitra, for sure, it's easy because design and architecture is so important for us. And architecture is a tool, the strongest one. In the digital interaction, it's quite difficult because if you're entering the home of the people, that is another area, that is your home area. And maybe you don't want that your work is becoming so visible at home. So, and I believe culture will be becoming more and more visible on our, head-up display. And we will train cultural techniques because productivity, efficiency is not enough to operate a company anymore.
Okay. Yeah, Raphael, I would like to have a question from let's say, a public institution perspective. We are in the course of renovating our embassy in Singapore. And so we had various discussions. And, public institutions are like slow movers. And so little by little now they are moving towards co-working spaces. And that's the concept implemented in our representations abroad. So you reduce individual offices, you have co-working spaces, and suddenly, you know, COVID-19 and the changes come about. You know, how can we reconcile this sort of, you know, well, the slow movers, you know, with the realities? And Neil talked about moving to empty offices. There are other large companies here in Singapore who just build total new premises, probably applying also concept of co-working, having 50, 100 people on the floor, etc. Just how do you see that? I mean, there will be huge gap, or institutions will be left behind with empty offices. How do you see this mix?
Good point. Look, Fabrice, I give the example of Swissnex in Boston. So Swissnex in Boston, your organization to bring startups, technology pioneers into the States, or maybe to Bangalore or to Boston, they are in the direct neighborhood with the embassy. So if you go to the Pier 70 in San Francisco, since I think 4 years or 5 years, the embassy is close to the Swissnex lab, and that is for sure a perfect match, yeah, because you have both together. But now we are 6 years or 5 years ahead. I believe companies and even organizations or government institutions have to be much more public. No, they have to be public, semi-public, and private. So there must be a touch point for the neighborhood, for the citizens, to a company or to a government institution. And that will happen. That will happen all over the world, more and more, and we'll see that. And maybe we couldn't believe that now during the pandemic, because this empty office looks like in a dystopian sci-fi movie that you are one of the last survivors at the world when you're entering the office in the morning. But after, I believe, beginning with the end of the next year, the offices are going more vibrant again. And then we will see, we all make now our experiences, how sad we feel ourselves without getting the contact to your coworkers, be disconnected, can give a handshake or hug each other. And we would not believe that. You know how it is? It's like the cows going after a long winter and the horses out of the stable. They freak out. And we will see, we will freak out, believe me, because we are natural human. We are so natural beings. And I believe we will take this opportunity seriously. But now we have to be strong. Even at Vitra, we are only now 25 or 30% of the people on the campus. And it hurts, it really hurts.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Raphael.
There is a connection. There's a question. Hey, hi, Dulisha. By the way, there is a really smart person now in your city. It's Dulisha. He works for Deloitte Center for the Edge. So whenever you get the opportunity to meet him, you should do that. Current large organizations are very concerned about privacy, IP protection, data security. Okay, as we move into more porous ways of working, how do we manage that? So, Dulisha, I believe in your topics like data, IT protection, security, there will be also a public. So if semi-public, public and private is in the physical world, public, semi-public and private will be also in the virtual world. And that we have to learn how to deal that. I don't believe that even large companies have to collaborate with other large companies to be at the forefront of their business in the future. I don't believe anymore that a large company is able, out of their own muscle, to be at the forefront of the industry. And I learned that during the sprint with the larger companies, with 15 of the larger companies in Europe during the pandemic in this 10-week design sprint, because they are so referenced by themselves that they have they are not able to go beyond. And and so there is, how to say, there's a pressure to get exploration. And now the question is to the IT, hey guys, how you deal with that? That is not a question to an architect. This question, I would address that to the IT guys, and I believe there will be good ideas for that.
Very good. So I think we are coming slowly but surely to an end. So maybe if there is one more question for the audience, from the audience, here it is. From Manfred.
Hi again. Social skills are the workplace are very important even for the career making. How does this change? Good point. Good point. But look, let us think about the last 38 weeks on social skills. Being engaged, inspiring people, inspire other ones, be curious. There are a few of social skills. And you see some people taking the opportunity during the lockdown, how they reinvent themselves or their department. I give you an idea. One of the largest German companies, Bertelsmann, they are also the publisher of the book of Barack and Michelle Obama, Random House. So they invent, it's called the campus of the coworkers. So out of a sudden, in less than 3 weeks, they find worldwide in the company, they have 120,000 employees. So they find 100 or 150 or 200 employees who say, I want to become a teacher in this university, in this campus. Then they set up 600 classes. 600 classes was packed up to 15, up to 200 people over a 30 weeks program out of zero. And that was packed. And here you see, and part of the education programs was social skills, but they start not by the initiative of the management, it starts by initiative of coworkers who come up with this great idea. And they train for sure, I would say 60% of the classes has a business relevance. So recording dedicated to the business of the company. But 40% of the classes was not in a business issue. That could be yoga, how to cook vegan, to how to make music. And I could mention now maybe 5 or 10 other examples which happens now in the last weeks out of social skills of the people in this world, and for sure it will be still important in the future. If you go to the report, maybe Angela, you could share the report, World Economic Forum, Future of Job Report, you will find good facts on one hand side and good inspiration for your daily work. Thank you, Manfred.
Cool. So that brings me to maybe one last, let me ask a personal question as well. So it's very exciting to listen to you. If I'm informed correctly, you started your professional career as a carpenter, right?
34 years ago.
Today you are and today you are a futurist. Is that fair to say? That's your profession?
Sorry, is that?
Futurist. That is, you would say that's what you are. So in the media today, and so on, we talk about the futurist, right? So how do you come from a carpenter to a futurist in 48 years?
Look, you have in life-changing moments. So one, I think, I was always curious as a kid, and I was always interested much more, even as a carpenter, in the work of my customers. So I think that was important. And I was always interested in the future. And in the year 2010, I get the opportunity to meet the brilliant Bertrand Piccard in Munich. And Bertrand Piccard gave a 30-minute speech. And this speech changed my life. He inspired me so much with his visions to think about how important it is to have in life a weatherman with a long-term perspective, that I thought I have to become a weatherman, and that is how it becomes. Yeah.
Okay.
And the rest
Great.
is hard work
Thank
and
you
training.
very
Like
much,
always.
Raphael, for all.
Welcome.
Sure, absolutely. And a lot of reading, like I know you read about, I don't know how many articles the day and the month. So it's you have to know a lot about cultures, countries, geographics, and so on. Cool. So thank you very much for that very interesting insights about the future of workspace. I'm very sure for Vitra there is a great journey to come. So we get from Angela, you said that already. So we will get some kind of documents and so on. So even if somebody of our members wants to jump in or to have some question, as for example Neil had, okay, I have to take some decision when it comes to workspace for the future. So I'm sure you are happy to assist. So thank you very much to you, Raphael, and your team all over the world, in Switzerland and also in Singapore. Angela, thank you very much for making that happen. Thank you, dear ambassador, for introducing Vitra to the Swiss Chamber so that we could have this German's luncheon event today. Thank you very much to all of you. Before that we end the official session here, I would hand over the word to my office manager, Clarissa, for some administrative notes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Georg. Thank you, Raphael. And keep in touch.
Will do.
Thank you, Raphael, for this very insightful session. Really enjoyed it. Just a few words to the members. So we have finished with our business awards. If you have seen on the social media, we had Acronis as a winner of the People and Skills Development Award and Shine Precision for the Digital Transformation Award. In terms of next month, so we will be closing the office during Christmas, but we come back in January with a lot of exciting events and also new stuff going on. So we will have economic outlook events in middle of January, followed on the 21st of January about international travel session with very interesting speakers. And the plan is also to have more physical events next year, business apéros, networking events, but also presentations from our members. So we are very excited to welcome you again for 2021. Thanks again to everyone for the last webinar of 2020 and hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Clarissa. And with that, to all of you, a very nice Christmas time, even if it will be a bit a special one, 2020. Keep safe, enjoy your friends and family, have fun, and Merry Christmas and all the best for hopefully a bit more optimistic year 2021. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.